The violins were still playing when the maitre d' dimmed the lights and my brother lifted his glass to toast his $250,000 wedding. I stood at the edge of the ballroom clutching the hospital estimate in my trembling hand. Maya's life-saving heart surgery was scheduled in 48 hours. The deposit was due tomorrow morning. I had already begged. Already cried. Already shown them the cardiologist's timeline marked in red ink with the words, non-negotiable window. Family first, Colton said into the microphone, his voice bouncing off crystal chandeliers worth more than my annual salary. Then he spotted me near the doorway and his smile tightened. Avery, please. Not tonight. Stop making this about you and learn to budget better. Laughter rippled through 300 guests in designer gowns. My mother looked down at her champagne. My father checked his watch. Colton's new bride Brielle smiled with closed lips while ice sculptures melted behind her, each one costing more than the deposit the hospital refused to waive. Around us, champagne erupted like confetti. The room spun with wealth I had helped them build while they celebrated and my daughter's heart struggled to beat. I didn't beg again. I didn't make a scene. I swallowed the sound rising in my throat and I walked out. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my revenge story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. My name is Avery Holt. I am 39 years old, a single mother and senior accounts manager. For years I carried this family on my back until the night they chose centerpieces over my child's heartbeat. Outside the ballroom I stared at my reflection in the marble glass doors. My mascara had smeared. My eyes were red and swollen from crying in bathroom stalls between courses. My wallet was empty. Inside, fireworks boomed for Colton and Brielle. The sound echoed like gunshots. My father pushed through the doors behind me. His tuxedo was perfectly pressed. His cufflinks caught the light from the parking lot lamps. It's their night, Avery, he said quietly. You know how much this wedding means to your brother. So was the night Maya flatlined in the emergency room, I answered. My voice cracked on her name. Where were you then? He flinched but said nothing. His silence was louder than the fireworks. He turned and went back inside where the music had started again and people were dancing. I walked to my car alone. My hand shook so badly I dropped my keys twice before I could unlock the door. The drive to the hospital took 20 minutes. I counted every red light. I counted every breath. The echo of champagne corks popping followed me the entire way home. Maya was sleeping when I arrived. Tubes ran from her small arm to machines that beeped softly in the darkness. I sat beside her bed and held her hand and wondered how love could be so conditional in the people who were supposed to love you most. 3 weeks earlier, Dr. Shields had called me into her office after Maya's latest tests. Her voice had been clinical and careful. Professional distance protecting both of us from the weight of what she was about to say. Surgery needs to happen within 4 weeks, she said. After that we lose what we call window A. Her heart is compensating now but it won't last. We're watching a countdown. Insurance would cover half the cost. The rest was $118,000. On me. On my single income and maxed credit cards and empty savings account that I had already drained paying for previous treatments. I had already sold my jewelry. My grandmother's wedding ring that I wore on my right hand. The pearl necklace my mother gave me when I graduated college. I took them to a pawn shop and got $800. I begged my parents next. I showed them the payment plan the hospital offered. The interest rates. The timeline that was ticking down like a bomb. After the wedding, my mother said. She was writing place cards in her perfect cursive handwriting. Gold ink on cream cardstock. Your brother is stressed enough planning everything. We'll figure something out once they get back from the honeymoon. That sentence became a knife I carried in my chest. After the wedding. As if Maya's heart would wait for convenient timing. I applied for a family guaranteed loan through my bank. My father agreed to co-sign. I felt relief for the first time in weeks. I actually slept that night. Then Colton called him. I only know because my father told me later, his voice apologetic but firm. Colton had concerns about the optics. Banks might think the family was overextended right before the honeymoon. It might affect his construction company's credit line. His new restaurant project needed clean financing. The loan was denied. My father withdrew his signature. He sent me a text message instead of calling. Sorry, sweetheart. Business is complicated right now. I sat in the hospital parking lot that night watching ambulances come and go. Red lights flashing. Sirens wailing. I wondered how family could measure a child's heartbeat against optics. I wondered what Maya's life was worth in their accounting. Inside, a nurse was changing Maya's for. She was so small in that hospital bed. So pale. Her lips had a blue tint that terrified me every time I noticed it. Is Uncle Colton coming to visit? She asked when I came back in. Her voice was hopeful. She loved Colton. He used to bring her candy and let her sit in his truck. After his big party, I lied. I smiled when I said it. I was getting good at lying to protect her from the truth about our family. Brielle's Instagram glowed with gold calligraphy and filtered sunset photos. #ForeverWells. #BestDayEver. I scrolled through photos of their engagement shoot at the lake. Their couple's spa day. Their wedding cake tasting with 6 different flavors. I zoomed in on their ice sculpture. A swan with spread wings. The caption said it cost $4,000 and would melt by midnight. Romantic tragedy, Brielle called it. I thought about how that money could have bought Maya's medications for 6 months. Maya lay beside me in bed that night. We were reading her favorite book about a girl who could talk to stars. She pressed her small hand against my arm where tubes had left bruises from my own blood donations. Mom, does it hurt? She asked. Not really, I said. Another lie. Everything hurt. My body. My heart. My faith in the people who were supposed to protect us. She fell asleep against my shoulder. I stayed awake scrolling through more wedding posts. Each one felt like evidence I was collecting. Proof of priorities. Documentation of betrayal. I screenshot everything though I didn't know why yet. Instinct told me to keep records. I organized a fundraiser at my office. Nothing fancy. Just homemade cookies and a raffle and small donations from coworkers who barely knew me but cared more than my own blood. We raised $2,000 in 3 days. That night Brielle sent me a text message. I read it in my car before driving home. My hands were shaking again. They shook a lot those days. If you're struggling financially, maybe scale down expectations. Not every child needs the deluxe package. There are charity hospitals for situations like yours. I read it twice. Then 3 times. The audacity felt radioactive. It burned through my phone screen. I wanted to call her and scream. I wanted to ask what deluxe package meant when we were talking about keeping my daughter alive. Instead I deleted the message. I didn't respond. Some cruelty is too big for words. I saved the screenshot though. Added it to my evidence folder that was growing larger every day. I drove home in silence. Maya asked why I looked sad. I told her I was just tired. She asked if we could have pancakes for dinner. I made them shaped like hearts because I could give her that much at least. Love in small gestures when big ones were denied by everyone else. 2 days later my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Spam calls had been constant since I posted the fundraiser online. Ms. Holt? This is Gerald Daltrey. I'm an attorney. I handled your grandmother's estate. My grandmother had died 2 years ago. I assumed everything was settled. We had gone to one meeting where my parents explained the will. I got some photo albums and her favorite cookbook. Colton got the family cabin. Standard distribution. I'm calling about a conditional trust, Mr. Daltrey continued. His voice was formal but kind. Your grandmother established it for medical emergencies involving her direct descendants. You're listed as successor trustee. I thought it was a scam. Those calls that promise money if you just send your bank details. But he emailed me official documents with legal seals and my grandmother's signature. Real papers. Real hope. Can you come to my office? He asked. I went the next morning. Took a personal day from work. Mr. Daltrey's office smelled like old books and lemon polish. He showed me the trust documents. Thick folders. Official stamps. My grandmother had been smarter than anyone knew. The conference room had dark wood paneling and leather chairs. Mr. Daltrey spread papers across the table. I recognized my grandmother's handwriting on some pages. Notes in the margins. Specific instructions. Read this clause carefully, he said, pointing to paragraph 7. I read it aloud. My voice stuttered over the legal language. In absence of equitable support from other family members, full discretionary control transfers to the claimant with documented proof of need and denial. Translation? I asked. Mr. Daltrey smiled. If your family refuses to help you, the control becomes yours. Your grandmother was very specific. She saw how your parents favored your brother. This was her insurance policy for you. I stared at the papers. Power hummed underneath my fingertips. For weeks I had been begging. Pleading. Scraping together pennies. Now I was holding documents that changed everything. What do I need to do? I asked. Sign here. Provide documentation of your family's refusal. Hospital bills. The loan denial. Any communication showing they chose not to help. I had everything. Screenshots. Emails. Text messages. I had been collecting evidence without knowing it would matter. My grandmother had planned for this exact scenario. She had known them better than I did. I signed the papers. My hand was steady for the first time in months. Mr. Daltrey notarized everything and handed me copies in a leather folder. Your grandmother would be proud, he said. The hospital foundation agreed to match the trust funds if I could show committed resources. Mr. Daltrey made calls. Lawyers spoke to administrators. Papers moved between offices. 2 days later Maya went into surgery. Dawn was breaking through hospital windows. The surgical team wore blue scrubs. They were kind and professional. They promised to take care of her. I waited in a room with plastic chairs and old magazines. 12 hours. I counted ceiling tiles. 736. I counted floor tiles. 412. I counted breaths. I lost track. A nurse brought me coffee and crackers. I couldn't eat. My stomach was twisted into knots that wouldn't untangle. Every time the door opened I jumped. Every announcement on the intercom made my heart stop. Finally Dr. Shields came through the doors. She was still in her surgical cap. Her mask hung around her neck. She was smiling. She's stable, Dr. Shields said. The repair went perfectly. She'll need monitoring but the prognosis is excellent. Relief tasted like salt and something sharper. Vindication maybe. Victory over circumstances that tried to crush us. I cried in that waiting room. Deep sobs that came from a place I didn't know existed. The nurse held my hand and didn't say anything. She understood. No calls came from my parents during the surgery. No texts. Nothing. The waiting room was full of other families supporting each other. Grandparents and cousins and friends. We sat alone. Colton sent a single text 3 days later. Hope she's okay. We'll visit after Bora Bora. I stared at that message for a long time. After Bora Bora. After their 2-week honeymoon at a resort that cost more than our house. After they posted sunset photos and couples massages and private beach dinners. I didn't reply. Some wounds heal cleaner without the infection of fake apologies. I blocked his number. Then I blocked Brielle's. Then my parents' numbers. I needed silence to recover. We both did. Maya improved every day. Color returned to her lips. Her breathing became easier. Nurses commented on her progress. She was a fighter, they said. She got that from me. We played card games in her hospital bed. We watched movies on my laptop. We talked about what she wanted to do when she got home. Normal life was returning. Life my family had almost stolen from us. 2 weeks later we were discharged. I carried her to the car. She weighed almost nothing. My strong daughter who survived what should have broken her. Word spread through our family's social circle. My parents' friends. The church congregation. The neighborhood. Whispers followed me at the grocery store. I heard through a cousin that Colton was telling everyone I had exaggerated the costs. That I was dramatic. That Maya's condition wasn't really that serious. He made me sound like a hysterical single mother crying wolf for attention. I didn't defend myself. Not then. I went home and printed every hospital bill. Every surgery report. Every doctor's note. I filed them in folders labeled by date. Evidence, not rage. Facts, not emotion. My inbox filled with messages from relatives I barely knew. They told me to forgive. To let it go. To remember family was forever. Nobody mentioned that family was also supposed to show up when you needed them most. I saved those messages too. Documentation of who stayed silent when it mattered. I was building a case without knowing yet what trial was coming. Maya asked why Uncle Colton didn't visit like he promised. I told her he was busy with work. Another lie to protect her. She was too young to learn that love could be conditional. That promises could be cheaper than the breath used to make them. 3 months later cracks started showing in Colton's perfect life. His construction company missed payroll. Workers walked off a job site. Rumors circulated about unpaid invoices and angry subcontractors. A supplier sued him for $30,000. The case was public record. I found the filing online. Reading it felt like watching karma take notes. The wedding loan had eaten his liquidity. All that borrowed money for one perfect day had left his business accounts empty. The restaurant project stalled. Permits were delayed. Investors got nervous. My father mortgaged the family cabin to bail him out. I heard about it through my aunt who heard it from my mother. Nobody called to tell me directly. I wasn't part of family business discussions. I never had been. Part of me felt satisfaction. A small dark part that I wasn't proud of. But mostly I felt tired. Tired of watching them scramble to save Colton while they had watched me drown. Maya was thriving. Her checkups showed perfect recovery. Dr. Shields called her a miracle. I called her proof that mothers fight harder than anyone expects. We were building a life without them. It was smaller but cleaner. Honest in ways our family never was. 6 months after the wedding, Colton called. I had unblocked his number by then. Curiosity, maybe. Or the sense that something was shifting. "Can we meet for dinner?" he asked. His voice was different. Softer. The arrogance had drained out of it. I almost said no. But Mr. Daltrey had called me the week before. He told me about the lakefront property sitting in the trust. The land my grandmother owned that nobody talked about. The parcel worth millions that required trustee approval for any use. Colton didn't know I controlled it. Nobody had told him. They assumed my parents still managed everything. I agreed to dinner. Curiosity and strategy mixing in equal parts. The restaurant was nice but not extravagant. Colton and Brielle sat across from me looking tired. Her Instagram had gone quiet. No more filtered photos. No more hashtags. We ordered food. Made small talk. Then Colton cleared his throat. We need to ask you something, he said. About Grandma's land. The lakefront property. Brielle's face was tight. She barely looked at me. My investors need collateral for the restaurant project, Colton continued. The trust owns that parcel. We need it released for development. Dad said it would just take some paperwork. I dabbed my mouth with my napkin. Smiled. I'll think about it. Inside I was already drafting terms. Conditions. Requirements. For the first time in my life I wasn't begging my brother for help. He was begging me. That night I met Mr. Daltrey again. His office was becoming familiar. A place where justice lived in filing cabinets and legal precedents. The lakefront property is entirely under your discretion, he confirmed. As successor trustee you can release it or withhold it. Your decision is final. I thought about Maya. About the hospital bills that arrived daily even though the surgery was paid for. Follow-up appointments. Medications. Therapy. The costs never really ended. I thought about Brielle's text message. Scale down expectations. Charity hospitals. Not every child needs the deluxe package. What are my options? I asked. Mr. Daltrey smiled. Anything you want. You could sell it. Lease it. Hold it. Or release it with conditions attached. Legal binding conditions. We spent 3 hours drafting a document. Terms and requirements. Clauses with teeth. Nothing emotional. Just business. Cold clean business the way they had treated Maya's life. When we finished, Mr. Daltrey looked at the contract. This is either brilliant or ruthless. Can't it be both? I asked. He laughed. Your grandmother definitely gave this to the right person. I left his office with a leather folder under my arm. Power documented in legal language. Insurance against ever being powerless again. A week later a news article appeared online. Local construction company faces license suspension over financial irregularities. I read it twice. Then sent it to my evidence folder. The article detailed Colton's permit problems. Unverified fund sources. Questions about the wedding expenses misreported as business costs. An investigation was opening. His company's operations were frozen pending audit results. Brielle's Instagram disappeared completely. Account deleted. All those perfect photos gone. The evidence of their excess erased like it never happened. My mother called. First time in 6 months. Her voice was panicked and high. Avery, you need to help your brother. The family needs to stick together. Funny, I said. My voice was calm. That's exactly what I needed 6 months ago. This is different, she insisted. This is serious. So was Maya's heart surgery, I replied. But you were busy addressing wedding invitations. Silence on the line. Then crying. My mother was crying and apologizing and begging. I hung up. I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear. Finally clear after months of fog and doubt and self-blame. They created this situation. I was just refusing to fix it for them. They came to my apartment 3 days later. All of them. Colton and Brielle. My parents. They wore nice clothes like they were going to church. Trying to look respectable while begging. I let them in. Offered water. Sat in my chair while they crowded on my couch. The power dynamic had shifted. We all felt it. Avery, please, my father started. We know things were difficult before. But family forgives. Does family forget? I asked. Because I remember every moment. Colton leaned forward. His hands were clasped like he was praying. I made mistakes. I was focused on the wrong things. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. Sorry doesn't pay hospital bills, I said. But it's a start. I slid a folder across my coffee table. The contract Mr. Daltrey and I had drafted. 20 pages. Legal size paper. Professional binding. What's this? Colton asked. Terms, I said. If you want the land released, these are my requirements. My mother reached for it. I pulled it back. Colton reads it first, I said. This is his deal. He opened the folder. His face changed as he read. Pale. Then red. Then pale again. Brielle looked over his shoulder. She made a small sound. You can't be serious, Colton said. I'm finally serious, I replied. Maybe for the first time in my life. The contract had 4 main clauses. I had memorized them. Mr. Daltrey said good contracts were like good stories. Every word mattered. Clause 1, full repayment to the hospital foundation that had matched my trust funds. $118,000 plus interest calculated at prime rate. Due within 60 days of land release. Clause 2, written public statement posted on all family social media accounts retracting false claims about Maya's condition and my financial management. Statement must remain posted for minimum 1 year. Clause 3, formal dissolution of unwritten family policy favoring eldest son in all inheritance and business matters. Future distributions to be need-based and documented. No more assumptions. No more golden child treatment. Clause 4, my permanent position as successor trustee with full discretionary control over remaining trust assets. No appeals. No override votes. My decision final. Colton blinked rapidly. He looked at our parents. She's joking. This is a joke. Does it read like a joke? I asked. Mr. Daltrey spent 3 hours making sure every word was legally binding. My father cleared his throat. Avery, this is excessive. We're family. We don't need contracts. We didn't need my daughter to almost die either, I said. But here we are. Learning about needs versus wants. Brielle spoke for the first time. You're punishing us. This is revenge. I looked at her directly. No. Revenge would be denying you completely. This is accountability. There's a difference. They left without signing. Said they needed time to think. To consult their own lawyer. To figure out alternatives. I waited. Patience is easier when you hold all the cards. Mr. Daltrey assured me the contract was airtight. They could challenge it but they would lose. My grandmother's will was clear. My authority was absolute. 2 weeks passed. Colton's company lost its license temporarily. The restaurant project officially stalled. Investors started pulling out. Each one requiring their money back immediately. My mother called crying. My father sent emails with subject lines like family unity and forgiveness path. I read them all. Responded to none. Then Colton appeared at my office. Security called me. I told them to let him up. He looked terrible. Wrinkled shirt. Dark circles under his eyes. The golden child was tarnishing. I'll sign, he said. No preamble. No negotiation. Just tell me where. Mr. Daltrey's office, I said. Tomorrow at 10. Bring Brielle. And our parents. Everyone signs as witnesses. He nodded. Turned to leave. Stopped. For what it's worth, he said quietly, you were right. About all of it. I was selfish and blind and cruel. Maya almost died because I cared more about appearances than family. That's something I'll live with forever. I didn't respond. Some apologies arrived too late to change anything. They just confirm what you already knew. The signing happened in Mr. Daltrey's conference room. The same room where I had first learned about my power. Full circle. Everyone signed. Colton's hand shook. Brielle signed without looking at me. My parents signed last. My mother cried the entire time. Mr. Daltrey notarized everything. Made copies. Filed originals in his safe. The land transfer will process within 48 hours, he told Colton. Upon confirmation of Mrs. Holt's conditions being met. 3 days later the wire transfer hit my account. $118,000 plus interest. I sat in my car outside the bank and stared at the confirmation email. Money that should have been given freely 6 months ago was now extracted legally. I transferred half to the hospital foundation immediately. Paid off Maya's remaining balances. Bought her a new bike. Took her to dinner at her favorite restaurant. "Mom, why are you crying?" she asked over her spaghetti. "Happy tears," I said. "Sometimes good things hurt a little because they took so long to arrive." She smiled. She was healthy now. Strong. The surgery scars on her chest were fading. She was proof that mothers can move mountains when everyone else refuses to help carry stones. My father stopped speaking to me after the signing. My mother sent messages calling me cold and calculated. Business-minded in a way that destroyed families. I reminded her that emotion and assumptions had built their debt. I simply enforced what should have been obvious from the beginning. Take care of your own. Protect the vulnerable. Show up when it matters. Colton's investors received my oversight. Every milestone tied to ethics clauses I drafted with Mr. Daltrey's help. Transparency requirements. Financial audits. No more hiding expenses or misreporting costs. They could have had my help freely. Instead they bought it legally. The difference mattered. Brielle did skip Thanksgiving. Then Christmas. Their marriage barely lasted another year. Divorce papers cited irreconcilable differences. I thought about texting her about charity options and deluxe packages but decided silence was kinder. Peace tasted quiet. It tasted like Maya's laughter during movie nights. Like depositing paychecks without fear. Like sleeping through the night knowing we were safe and provided for. I didn't need their approval anymore. That freedom was worth more than any contract could guarantee. With leftover interest from the trust, one launched a small business. Holt Ledger Consulting. Helping women navigate medical debt and family financial manipulation. Teaching them the fine print that protected or destroyed lives. My first seminar sold out in 3 days. 40 women in a community center room. They came with stories that echoed mine. Families who chose vacations over surgeries. Parents who prioritized sons over daughters. Systems designed to keep women begging instead of building. One attendee whispered during the break, "I heard what you did to your brother. People are calling you heartless." I smiled. I didn't do anything except enforce consequences. If that's heartless, then maybe we need to redefine the word. She hugged me. Then 5 more women hugged me. They understood. They had lived in the same space where love was conditional and help came with humiliation attached. My business grew quietly. Word of mouth. Women telling other women. I didn't advertise. Didn't need to. Trauma creates its own network. Survival builds its own community. Maya sometimes came to seminars. She did homework in the back row. Occasionally women asked about her. I told them she was my reason. My proof that fighting back wasn't selfish. It was necessary. A local reporter contacted me about an interview. Women and financial justice was her angle. How systems fail mothers. How families weaponize loyalty. I agreed. Then my phone rang immediately. "Colton. Please don't use our last name," he said. His voice was small. "It'll hurt my business recovery. People are finally starting to trust me again." I thought about it. Considered mercy. Then I remembered Maya's blue lips and the hospital waiting room and the ice sculpture that melted at midnight. You already used our name, I said. Engraved on $250,000 wedding invitations. I'm just finishing the story you started. The interview aired. Local news. Then regional. Then a podcast picked it up. My story became other women's ammunition. Proof that pushback was possible. Colton called once more. Asked me to stop. Said I was destroying what little he had left. I reminded him that he had destroyed what little I asked for. The difference was I rebuilt. He was still waiting for someone else to fix his mistakes. Some people learn. Some people just keep falling and blaming gravity. State auditors reviewed Colton's company filings 6 months later. Routine audit that found irregular patterns. Wedding expenses misclassified as business costs. Personal luxuries written off as professional necessities. Private jet rentals marked as client entertainment. His license was suspended permanently. His company dissolved. Brielle had already filed divorce papers citing financial fraud she claimed not to know about. He called me crying. I lost everything, Avery. Everything. You kept the spotlight, I said. Maybe it'll keep you warm. Harsh words. But honest ones. He had chosen performance over people. Photography over presence. He built a beautiful set and forgot to construct an actual life. I hung up. Felt nothing. Not satisfaction or sadness or regret. Just the quiet knowledge that consequences eventually arrive. Sometimes slowly. Always certainly. My parents sold their house. Downsized to an apartment. They blamed me publicly. Said my bitterness poisoned family bonds. I didn't respond. Didn't defend. I was too busy building something real. Something that helped people instead of using them. Something Maya could be proud of when she was old enough to understand. Karma wasn't revenge. It was just bookkeeping finally balanced. Maya turned 12. Healthy. Thriving. She wanted to volunteer at the hospital where Dr. Shields had saved her life. They created a junior volunteer program just for her. The hospital hosted a charity gala. Honored the foundation that had matched my trust funds. They asked Maya to introduce me as the evening speaker. She wore a blue dress. Stood at the podium looking small but fierce. My daughter who survived what should have broken her. My mom is the reason I'm alive, she said into the microphone. Not because she's perfect. Because she refused to give up. Because she fought when everyone else said to wait. Because she loved me more than she feared them. The room stood. 300 people clapping. Among them, in the back row, sat my parents. My father's face was pale. My mother held a handkerchief. They stayed for my speech. Heard me talk about medical debt and family manipulation and the systems that keep women begging. They heard me describe my journey without naming them directly. Everyone knew anyway. Afterward they approached me. My father cleared his throat. You did well tonight. Thank you, I said. Nothing more. Their praise arrived years too late to change anything. It just confirmed what I already knew. I succeeded without them. Maybe because of their absence. They left quickly. Uncomfortable in a room that celebrated what they had tried to deny. I returned once to the lakefront property. The parcel where Colton's dream resort was supposed to stand. My grandmother's land that became my leverage. The grass was tall. Birds skimmed the water. The sunset painted everything gold and orange and pink. Maya skipped stones beside me. She was getting good at it. 5 skips on her last throw. They spent all that money on one day, I said quietly. $250,000 for a wedding. How much did my surgery cost, she asked. Everything, I answered. And nothing. Because some things you can't put a price on. She nodded. Threw another stone. 7 skips this time. New record. I thought about the wedding that started everything. The toast that broke me. The moment I walked out of that ballroom and into a different life. They spent $250,000 on a celebration. Refused to save my daughter's life with a fraction of that amount. Built ice sculptures while her heart failed. Hired photographers while I counted ceiling tiles in a hospital waiting room. In the end, I became their only hope. Not because I wanted revenge. Because grandmother's trust and legal contracts and documentation proved more reliable than family promises. I didn't ruin them. I required accountability. There's a difference. One destroys. The other rebuilds with better materials. Maya threw another stone. It skipped 9 times before sinking. New record, I said. She smiled. We're pretty good at starting over, aren't we, Mom? The best, I agreed. We drove home as the sun set behind us. Leaving the property in our rearview mirror. Moving forward into a future we built ourselves. Stone by stone. Skip by skip. Heartbeat by heartbeat. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does family mean to you? Please share below and subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine.